What's up, guys? It's Crash, and man, I'm thankful for you guys. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me yesterday, playing the game, checking it out. Almost went for 8 hours, having a ton of fun, and it's just humbling and awesome to me that with all the amazing creators streaming the game, that many of you chose to hang out with me. And man, thank you guys so much. It's super humbling and super cool, and I just want you to know that I really do appreciate it. Now, I got a lot of stuff to talk about. You guys know that my videos are largely, unscripted, conversational. I like to just have me. We talk about stuff going on with FPS games and Grayzone in particular over the last few weeks. And in this one, I have so many thoughts that I want to get to you, and they're a little bit out of order. My boomer brain is kind of going wild. So if you see me looking down at my screen, I kind of have a list of things that I make sure I want to talk about. So still unscripted, but I got some points. If you see me looking down, you see my brain cooking, you see smoke coming out of my ears, it's because I'm computing my thoughts. So as we go, because I have a lot of them. So I want to talk about Grayzone Warfare, and man, the bones are really good. And I hate this to say it, because this game has a ton of potential, and I feel like that gets overused. And you could argue and say, hey man, every game has potential, right? Like any game with the right amount of work down the right path, with enough people working on it, you can make almost any game a really good game with a ton of work, like I said, and in the right direction. But I really feel like the path to success, the path for Grayzone to get there, is pretty easy to see. It's not a big leap to see this game from where it is now to something that many, not all, but many people can enjoy. And I want to talk about kind of why that is, the track record of the studio, and the direction that the game is already headed, kind of where it needs to go and what it needs to do. Now, I know the game right now is suffering from, I feel like, a fair amount of like, even me sometimes to an extent, like Tarkov players that want this game to be more than it is right now. And I just think with this playtest, there's a little bit of anger towards the studio for it just being creators and stuff like that. And I have a few thoughts on that before we get into it. We have to kind of step back and think from their point of view, from Madfinger Games, what they actually did, right? This is the first time that this game has had a public test of netcode PvP, a persistent server, which is huge. And we'll get into why that is a little bit later. It was so cool and it worked great. They decided to let people broadcast it. On the first playtest, lots of times these are closed. This game was only announced a mere few months ago. Usually we hear about games for years before we get to this point. This is our first playtest. It was out in the open. A lot of people are upset that it's just creators. Every creator got 3 codes to invite their friends to. So you could probably say there's more non-creators than creators actually in this. And they did that because if some of this stuff is how it is, there were some stability problems, there were some optimization issues, there were a lot of crashes that we're going to get into and talk about. If that would have happened to the masses, this game could have been DOA. So it's important to keep that into consideration, as well as you have a lot of people saying this is boring, this sucks, because they want it to be Tarkov, a game that's been worked on for nearly a decade, to be competed against with a game that was announced a few months ago. So not necessarily apples to apples, just trying to put all of that into perspective. I'm not saying this is the greatest game of all time. I'm not saying they're the greatest studio of all time. That's just things as I see it right now. My honest view of what I think to be a fairly honest studio. So let's talk about what the game needs and go through my thoughts kind of as we talk about the path that Grayzone needs, that I think it needs to become really successful. So there were typical stability optimization issues. That is all needed. There were a ton of bugs. But what I thought was really cool to kind of take a look at Madfinger Games as well, in their honesty, they already have talked about what they're going to be releasing in a day 2 patch today. Mara talked about all of the different crashes that they've experienced, and many of them are already getting addressed. We know that this studio has also fixed scopes. In between the first and second trailers, they fixed how scopes looked. After the first creator playtest, a lot of people didn't like the audio. They've already done a lot of stuff to fix the audio. They are changing stuff at a very rapid pace. I can tell you, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to share this or not, but during the playtest, they actually had like a situation room of devs helping creators and other people, just anyone, get online and play this playtest and work through bugs. They were actively working around the clock to help people to enjoy and play the game. And I think when we're talking about there's a lot that needs to be done to the game, But if you go off what you know about the studio and what we've all seen and the things that I've told you, you start to see that it is a possibility for them to get there. These are hardworking people. You can tell. It's pretty easy to see. So I think they have a shot. The UI was pretty good within the persistent server. It was really cool. When you were in the base, you just got to look at everything as far as your locker, the vendors, and all that stuff. They need to add some stuff to it for sure. I would love to see like a linked item search, maybe some presets, and a little bit more feedback on what you can unlock. In the early games, I didn't necessarily get that sense of progression very much because I really couldn't see what I was going to unlock, if that makes sense. When you look at your traders, you can see that you're progressing them, but you don't get to see what you get unlocked at level 2. So that would be really cool. I wasn't too worried about money like I thought it would be because we were able to get our stuff back after dying. I'm going to talk a little bit about that too when we're talking about the persistent servers. I would love to see some other little stuff like toggle to lean would be really nice. I also would like to see multi-functions for keys. I wasn't able to get it to work where I could use my shift key to sprint as well as hold breath when I was ADS. The coma was really neat. The other big thing that we were worried about was, you know, kind of if you're going to have this complicated system, they actually modeled the organs and how bullets interacted with them and stuff. But the feedback was that, so it kind of made sense to me. I got one tapped by the AI a couple times. One of them was an obvious heart shot, hit me in the heart. You're done. If you don't get hit in a vital organ, it's really cool. You get that feedback, but you go into a coma state, your friendlies can come up, give you blood, stop the bleeding, all that stuff, and essentially eventually revive you. It takes a little bit of time, but that stuff was really cool, man. It just was immersive and it kind of made sense. The chopper mechanic is really cool, getting, you know, dropping into the LZs. There's some more stuff to that too, where it can kind of give away positions. We did chase down some PvP at one point where we saw a chopper land. So we knew an enemy team or an enemy faction team was landing there. So we went after it. So that was cool. But the chopper rides are really neat. I did have a couple crashes there, but it's a really cool mechanic. It's going to add a lot of gameplay. And I know people are worried about camping of the extracts, or excuse me, camping of the LZs. And I just don't think that's going to be an issue because there is so much unpredictability with the persistent servers. Anybody could be anywhere at any time. There are going to be a ton of LZs. And when you're up in that chopper, you kind of get a sense for how big the map actually is. And that was one of the biggest and craziest parts about the whole thing, was the map was huge. Some of the things, you can see how it got so big, like the towns near each of the 3 factions were essentially like copy pasted, but everything in the middle, the terrain was insane. The vegetation is incredible. Like how that renders in is mind blowing, man. Like even up on the hills, like up on the mountains that are kind of like the boundaries for the game, there were still shadows rendering. There was like no LOD, and what I mean is like the drawn distance for detail. A lot of times, when you're in a game and you get closer to something, you'll like assets will start to pop in, or their textures will change and update. That wasn't the case. It was like seamless, man. Like there were shadows all the way across the map. There was vegetation that didn't pop in and change, and just the map itself is really truly an achievement. And like I've never been in an in-game multiplayer environment that looked like that, and how the vegetation interacted with you moving, interacted with muzzle blast. A couple times I shot some AI that were near bushes, and like leaves would fall out of the bushes and stuff, and like little details like that were really, really cool, and something that they should be proud of. With, you know, not feeling the progression, the other thing that was a little bit weird was I couldn't get the FOV to feel right, and I'm sure this is something that can be worked on. When I turned up the FOV, it literally felt like I had a toilet paper tube at arm's length trying to look through my sight, man. Like something is up with how the FOV affects your weapon placement, and the weapon's like really far from you. So I had to turn down my FOV to kind of make it feel better. So if it feels weird to some of you guys, that might make sense. If you follow the quest, and I really think, guys, this could be a me problem. This could be like an us problem. If you just follow the quest in the early game, it feels a little bit tedious to me, and I caught myself wanting to Google search a wiki so I could like find all these quest positions and get it done really easily. And I think that's a me problem. I had to take a minute, step back and say, hey, this is like kind of a special time when this game is new. People don't know where everything is and don't know where stuff is. So enjoy it, right? Like look around yourself, explore the map, try to find it. They did give you some information in the quest, enough to kind of find what you're looking for and get you kind of pointed in the right direction. But some of them took me quite a while to find so far, and I need to be okay with that. right? Like it's okay. And to take some time and explore the map and do some of these quests yourself. At least there's enough information that you can complete them yourself. It just can take a little bit of time. It was important for me to enjoy the process, right? Just a little bit more. The persistent servers were awesome, right? Like that's one of the big things that I've been saying is really cool with, Tarkov and the predictability with the start time and the end time, where people are going to be. With the persistent servers, that was one of the biggest things that I was excited for and also nervous for. And they were really, really solid. Like it worked. The persistent servers worked. People were flying around different places. You could see on your tracker where your friendlies were from your faction. You could see their chopper flights going out, coming in. There were people coming back and leaving the base. And it just worked. Like everybody was out doing their own thing, exploring. And honestly, the persistent servers had a really unique way, in my opinion, of balancing itself, of taking some of those dick punches of Tarkov away. Like I got one tapped in the heart by an AI that spun around, but it's like, man, my friends in my squad, they killed the rest of the AI. They held my position for a few minutes while I spawned back at the base, got on the chopper, got in, got back to my stuff. And in that instance, it kind of feels a little bit like Dead Side, but man, like it took something that would have been frustrating. If that would have happened in Tarkov, raid's over, right? Like your guys are trying to insurance fraud your stuff in bushes, carry out what they can, and they're immediately headed to the extract, and you're gonna have to wait 10 to 15 minutes to get in another raid. Not the case here. That's the coolest part, man. Like when you're in the game, you're playing the game. Like it was just really cool. And what I mean by it self-balancing is like, so it takes kind of the sting of getting killed by an AI away a little bit, but if you go exploring across the map, you seek out the PvP, which you can force pretty early on in the rip if you want to go exploring, because you kind of know where the other AI or where the other enemy factions are. If you're in a PvP fight, you're probably going to lose your stuff, right? They're not going to wait for you to come back. They're going to take your stuff and be gone. So like, and when you die to PvP, it's not like angry, like you're not super mad that the computer kills you, right? Like you were in a PvP fight, you lost, GG's, you probably lost your stuff. So when you get killed by a scav, you could usually get your stuff back. When you die in PvP, you're probably not. So it's really cool how the persistent servers, just the mechanic overall of itself, kind of balances your deaths a little bit. So I think that was really cool. And like I said, the details are really insane. The combat system with the organs and all that stuff worked. There are some bugs with some misalignments of scopes. The big thing with the AI, it needs a ton of work. Mara has said the AI needs a lot of work. There's a lot of inconsistencies with how many times you hit them and how many times they die. And if you guys think the AI is too easy, you should go to the mill base. Some of the clips you're going to be seeing behind you are us taking over the military base, and there was some PvP over there. It was not easy. They were cracked. We died a lot of times. I peeked a corner one time and I took 3 bullets to the face and I was completely done and back at base. So it took several regains to take over the mill base. It was tough, but some of the standard scavs in the starter town with like nothing on but like a tank top and like bare tatted arms and a do-rag took more shots than some of those soldiers, right? So if the AI are inconsistent, if some are stronger than others, that's probably going to be a thing. That's probably intended, and that makes sense. It should look like that. I feel like the guys wearing no armor, almost shirtless, should take just a couple shots to put down, and then the tankier guys at the military base can take, quite a few shots into the armor. Got to go for headshots, stuff like that. But it's a known issue. Mara has said the AI needs a lot of work, and not wrong. The AI needs a lot of work. The inconsistencies need a lot of work. The visual feedback of how many bullets it should take to kill one of them is a huge issue. And I'm sure they're working on it, and it needs to be towards the top of their list. I've seen a lot of people say that the PvP is non-existent, but you can force it, guys. It is out there. And I think this is another case of us wanting it to be Tarkov right off the bat, and it's not. It's a different game. So like if you're playing, it's pretty chill once you're doing the first several quests. Like the first 8 or 9 hours for me were not too much worry about PvP. But if you have enough stuff, if you're feeling frisky, you can go find it, because you're going to kind of know on the map where they're at. We started to venture out, find other LZs. Once you discover an LZ, once you walk over it, it's something that you can use. So we now have a couple LZs near the enemy's town. So we're going to be able to force a little bit more PvP, and knowing that it's going to be a little bit more intense, likely to lose our gear. People were saying, you know, it's not as intense or scary as like Tarkov, and I think that's good for the most part, but there are going to be times, I think, when you progress late game, again, if we're patient a little bit and we get to some of this late game stuff, especially as we get closer to 1.0, they start, there's, you know, there's a whole portion of the map, there's a whole bunch of lore in the middle that we have no clue what it is. There's a whole late game experience that's not even in the game yet. So I think late game it's going to get better when quests start taking you across enemy lines and stuff like that. It's just going to get more intense. It's going to get more intense. You're going to, you know, start to have a little bit of gear fear, because you're good when you get killed by PvP, you're probably going to lose it. You're going to lose your good stuff. So I think that will come as we progress later in the game for people worrying about intensity. And just, you know, long term with the game, I hope wipes mean something. I hope there's maybe like a cross wipe progression, something maybe like the prestige system that Tarkov's working on, or something to keep us coming back. Because if it is just like Tarkov where it wipes, and you know, they've already talked about, you know, when it wipes, it'll force you to switch factions, like you'll have to change factions, so your quests will be a little bit different. But if you're, you know, if you're in the same, you know, faction, you know, the factions all have, you know, copy paste towns close to their base. So if you're doing those same quests every single wipe, man, that's going to get a little bit tedious. So I hope there's something more there. I know there's a lot coming to the game. I know, you know, even within the, like one of the first major updates after early access, the day night cycle's coming, and you know, the jungle at night is going to be incredibly intense with NVGs. Thermals are going to be off the charts powerful, being able to see, you know, through snippets of leaves and stuff to be able to see enemies. So that's going to be incredibly, like, it's just going to change the game. It's going to completely change the game. But as you know, stuff starts to get closer to 1.0, I just really hope long-term wipes have something making you want to come back, because I really like these gameplay mechanics. But if I'm doing the same quest, what kind of turned me off of Tarkov is doing the same quest over and over every wipe. So I hope there's something in the works for that. With the persistent servers, with all that, there is a ton of potential for this studio to have in-game events, different bosses, change things up, add stuff to it, and I hope the map stays a living map. So with all that being said, guys, that's kind of my first thoughts after the 8 hours that I've played and put into the game, where it can be. And we just have, this game has a long ways to go, but I think we should give Madfinger Games a little bit of a respect for, you know, allowing people like me and other larger creators to tell you how it is before taking pre-orders. So if this is something that you want to wait on, you didn't pre-order it to get access. How much money could they have made by saying, if you pre-order it, you can get in on this playtest? Like, they would have made a massive amount of money. But them being what I consider to be so far honest in their dealings, are allowing people like me to share your thoughts, to see if this game is for you. But I also just wanted to show you guys that for a game that this is their first net-coded online multiplayer playtest, from a game we've only heard about a few months ago, with some of the never before put together mechanics that we're seeing in this game, it's pretty darn incredible where the game is, in my opinion. And I am excited to see where it goes, because like I said, any game can have potential, right? But we've seen things from this studio already talking about patches on day 2, already fixing stuff in between trailers early on, you know, right in Discord, helping people get to play the game, being incredibly active. It is not somebody, you can just tell that they want the game to be good and they want it to work. And with today's large publishers and AAA gaming, and people just, you know, like Call of Duty and Battlefield and some of these games just putting out skin stores with a side game attached to it that's meant to get money out of you, to me, it's really refreshing to see developers with this kind of passion working their ass off around the clock to make the game work. And you can just really tell that they want it to be good for the players. And I hope that constitutes to success for them. And then we start to see other studios say, hey, you know what? Kind of like old times, if we make games for the players, they turn out to be successful. So that's what I'm hoping to see. So far with everything, you know, we haven't seen anything. Let's be real. We haven't seen anything with microtransactions. We haven't seen the cost of the game yet. That could be a little bit outrageous. I'm going to be honest with you guys too, what I think of that stuff, if I think it's reasonable. But as everything sets now, from what I've seen from the communication, the honesty, and the work ethic of this studio, I'm rooting for it, man. And I see a path for them. They fix some of these things. They put stuff into the game that keeps it fresh. the bones of this game at this early of stage are really, really cool to see. Hopefully, with this playtest going fairly well, in my opinion, they're getting some good data, I hope, on what they need to fix, what they need to make work, that when everybody gets into early access, I think it should be just a few weeks away. I think you guys are going to enjoy it and have a lot of fun. And I look forward to covering the game and keeping you guys updated where we move on from here. I'll be updated on that. If you guys have watched this far, thank you so much. I really, really do appreciate it. I can't thank you enough for watching this far. If you guys want to see Grayzone Warfare content, let me know in the comments. I make these videos for me because I enjoy talking to them, but they're also so much for you guys. So if you want to see some stuff about the new Arena Breakout stuff, we're definitely going to talk about it on the podcast. If you want to see Arena Breakout stuff, it's coming to PC, which is really cool. Division Heartland, there's some X-Defiant playtests going on today. Whatever you guys want to see, let me know down in the comments, because I also want to make videos that you guys like to watch. That's why I have the face cam. That's why I'm just kind of real, honest, you know, unscripted talk, because those are the videos that I like. So I send them to you guys. You watch this far, again, you spent time with me in stream. Can't thank you enough. I should be live on twitch.tv/crash8 most of the weekend playing the game. I'd love to have you come out over there. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you later.